So if you're thinking about building an online business around your knowledge, you're going to want to watch this interview where I chat to Brandon Trentalange, who is from California, who's not only built one online business, but two online businesses. His first business he built off the back of COVID, where he was actually helping people pass their drone license, their pilot's license. And then his second business is actually an agency helping people build their first online business. So make sure you watch all the way to the end, because Brandon actually showcases his successes and his failures, how he has built both of these online businesses. So here it is, the call I had with Brandon just a few minutes ago. Be sure to take notes. I hope you enjoy. Hey Brandon, how are you? Thanks for joining me today. I'm really appreciative of your time, so thanks for jumping on. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have this conversation with you. So where are you based currently at the moment? Where are you calling in from?
So I grew up in San Diego and went to school in Chicago, came back to San Diego, and all my friends had moved up to Orange County. And so I live in Newport Beach and have an office here in Irvine. So I'm in the Southern California area. Very nice.
That's cool. So yeah, thanks for agreeing to have a chat with me. Basically the aim of this call is to understand how people got into like the online business, digital products business, the successes and failures, to learn a bit about your story would be good to sort of help others. So I guess we could start with like, what is your background like before the online bit? What is your background there? And then how did you get into running an online business? What was your sort of first experience?
So I started straight out of high school, believe it or not.
Wow.
Yeah. I played lacrosse in high school, and I played at a very high level, thought I was going to go play college lacrosse, got recruited for all of that. And as I was about to have this whole sports journey, I actually pivoted and tried to pursue business as my major. And so I got into Loyola University of Chicago. And while I was still the summer going into college, I was still here down in San Diego, just thinking about different entrepreneurial ventures, things that I could do. I was stringing lacrosse sticks for a while in high school, and I'd get maybe $30 or $40 a pop for that. So that was kind of like my first real entrepreneurial journey. I used to string lacrosse sticks all season, and then I actually saved up a lot of that money and purchased a drone for the lacrosse team, because I was like, I got to have a highlight reel that's better than everyone else's, to get recruited, to go play D1, all of that stuff. So I bought a drone for the manager of our lacrosse team and had him record all of our games. People started coming Friday night lights because they saw all the pump up videos and all these aerial shots. And so that was kind of the start of it all. And then I was like, I got to start something. So I took that drone and started doing real estate photography with drones.
Oh, wow. So you just sort of fell into like your first gig, like using drones for your personal use, but then for the lacrosse team. And then that fell into your main business, really.
Exactly. And early on, it was just more a passion project. Like I said, I wanted to get really cool shots of me playing lacrosse. And then after the lacrosse dream kind of died down, I was like, okay, I think I could make some money with this. So that summer going into college, I did a bunch of real estate photography and started to get some clients that way. I started the business with my really good friend Miles, who was a year younger than me. So when I ended up going off to Chicago, he was still in San Diego in high school. It was his senior year. And I would close deals with real estate agents in Southern California while I was in my dorm room, and then Miles would go out and fly the drone and get the aerial shots. And we ran the business for about a year while I was in school, and eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, I think that I want to pursue a business instead of going through the typical 4-year route. And so I actually dropped out of school, came back to San Diego and started Altitude Aerial Services, which was my first business ever. And that year, we made as much as I would have spent on my tuition in college. And so I thought that was a pretty good indicator that I was, kind of pursuing the right route. So that's kind of how it all started.
Wow. So that was your first experience of online business then. You were teaching others how to use drones, how to fly drones and get good footage from drones.
Yeah, exactly. So when we were doing it in person with these clients, kind of developed a system for it. And I know you're 100% all about systems. And so we developed a
Absolutely.
system for landing higher paying clients, shooting high quality aerial photography, getting your commercial drone license, how to price your services, how to build a portfolio. And so the first course I ever put out on Kajabi was a course that still runs today. We have over 18,000 students. And
Wow.
that course is how to pass the drone license exam, which became our staple course way back when, and still to this day is something that people find a lot of value in starting their career in the drone industry.
Very cool. That's really interesting. Did you fall into Kajabi? Did you know about Kajabi? Because I know a lot of people using Kajabi. Did you try something else? Did you piece other systems together before you actually found Kajabi?
I did. So I tried Teachable, then I switched to Udemy, and then I switched to Thinkific, and then I got MailChimp, and I used Zapier to connect everything to duct tape it all across the board.
Yeah, sounds
And then
familiar.
I used a bunch of different landing page softwares, and that works. When you have 10, 20, 30 students when you're first starting off, you kind of learn through that trial and error of going, okay, this is different than starting a brick and mortar business. I kind of have to figure out what softwares and platforms are going to be the best as a solopreneur, which a lot of people probably watching this video are just starting out,
Yep.
especially if they're in the Kajabi community. They're probably doing research into what platforms are best and how to start their online business. And so it's best to learn by trial and error. I tried a lot of different platforms, as I'm sure we all do, try to duct tape them all together. But at a certain point, when you hit 50, 100, or even hundreds of students, eventually thousands of students, you have to really treat it like a real business. And with a real
Mm.
business, you try to reduce, your exposure to things that could break. And Kajabi just happens to be that platform where you can do it all under one roof.
Yeah, absolutely. So what sort of very cool story, by the way. What sort of year were we talking? How long ago was this when you first started, and how long did it take you to get that amount or that big an audience and the students that you take through your program?
Yeah, so that was around, I would say 2018 when I first started on Teachable.
Yep.
And I had just kind of mapped out the curriculum for my course. I was one of the youngest certified drone pilots, and I went in to go pass that exam, just barely passed. And so when I got home, I was like, there's got to be a better way to study for this.
Sure.
If I can't pass it, someone who's just getting into it for fun or wants to do, pictures on the side for sports or surfing or real estate, there's
Yeah.
no way they're going to pass it. So I started to develop the curriculum a little bit further over the course of about a year and launched the course on Kajabi eventually, which became my main platform. I don't really count any of the sales that happened here and there through that process, but I would say probably 2019 was when I really decided to go all in. And since then have scaled it to what it is today. But Kajabi really was that like staple piece to help me
Yeah.
understand what it takes to get to the next level over the course of a couple years.
Yeah. That's very cool. So quite a familiar story, really. You're someone who found a challenge or a problem that you actually built a business to overcome.
Yeah.
A lot of this is just solving problems, but businesses come out of that, and you have firsthand experience of that, and that's very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, the question I ask a lot of people is like, how do you get your leads? How do you get in front of your audience of people who obviously want to know how to pilot drones?
Yeah.
Because I can imagine that's a very niche market. Like how did you work that out in the start?
It is, and it's something that I never thought that I would be in. It's so funny how that works. Like, I didn't grow up playing video games. I was always outside surfing, having a good time, and people are like, "Oh, did you probably played a lot of video games growing up." And I'm like, "Actually, it was the complete opposite. I kind of found this niche starting as a service provider first. I struggled with something, to start my career, and that thing was passing the drone license exam. And then, I kind of figured out that there were other people out there that might struggle with that same thing. And so that was kind of what kickstarted it all. And I found that my community online really was looking for educational material. They weren't looking for entertainment. They weren't looking for blogs or reading. It was more along the lines of, I want educational material on the business side of things. A
Sure.
lot of people have the creative element in there. Most people are born with it. Some people learn that.
Yeah.
But on the other side of things, on the business side of things, that's kind of a learned skill. And so I took to YouTube really, really early on. YouTube was the platform that I thought, okay, there's LinkedIn. I could write posts or images or video or live streaming or blogs, SEO. There's so many different options out there, and you kind of have to figure out what medium is going to be best for you. A lot of
Absolutely.
people early on are like, oh, I want to attack all of them at once. I'm going to do TikTok, and then I'm going to do YouTube, and then I'm going to go write these posts, and then I'm going to do a newsletter. And so I found really early on the best thing I did was I just doubled down on one platform that I knew really, really well, and that I felt that my personality would kind of come out best in, and that was just video, and that was YouTube. And so to this day, I have the same website that I built in 2019. I haven't changed anything on it since. If you go look up Altitude University on Instagram or Twitter or LinkedIn, there's virtually no posts. You wouldn't even know that we exist.
Wow.
But on YouTube, we grew to about 25,000 subscribers, and just have these staple study guide videos that help people to understand the environment around flying drones, what it's like to start a career in the drone industry, what it's like to just have even a side hustle to go make some money where you could earn a couple $100 or sometimes even a couple $1,000 on the weekends,
Sure.
pursuing your passion. And for a lot of people, think to yourself, what would a couple $1,000 every single month in addition to your current income do for you in the long run? Usually it's a lot. And so people
Yeah.
have that commitment to kind of, take the next step, learn, follow the study guide, figure out the step-by-step route that it would take to pass the license exam, and then go and learn, how they could start a career in that drone industry.
That's cool. Yeah, because they do say that if you're creating content, like people either watch, listen, or read. So you've got to decide on which. Would it be YouTube? Is it creating a blog post, or is it a podcast? So you strike me as the type of guy who favors the video, and video is great for getting your point across, like teaching, building rapport. So yeah, this is what I mean. There's lots of similarities there. I'm focusing on YouTube, and let's talk about YouTube for a little bit, because YouTube is I know a lot of people who've started on YouTube and then given up. YouTube for me is, I don't see it as a social media platform. I see it as a search engine. It's owned by Google, Alphabet. It's one of the biggest search engines out there. What would you say to people who are looking to start a YouTube channel, and sort of give us a bit of an example of how long it took you to see success on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, so the best thing, before I answer that, the best thing that I ever did early on was I started as a service provider. I think that's a critical step to this whole process, because people look for a niche and they figure out, and then the next step is, how do I double down on that niche and create a community and start to get some traction, some views, and how do I kind of get to that next level? And a lot of people haven't done the boots on the ground, right?
Sure.
And so that was something I did really early on, where I was like, I'm going to go figure out what my customers' number one concerns are, what their number one challenge is, and also what service they would want to see me providing to them over and over and over at a high level, that I could differentiate myself from everyone else on the market. And so when I went into YouTube, I had already done that market research, which was really just trial and error. It was just, hey, I need to make some money with this. I have a skill set that I think that I could monetize. I'm going to provide this as a service, figure out what people's challenges are, what they would want to see better, me do better than anyone else, and what they would pay for every single time. And once I got that understanding of what people were looking for, I was like, okay, I could replicate this online. And that's when I was like, I'm in a position where I had two options. One, for online courses, you can, create a system to help other service providers provide value to their clients, right?
Yep.
If I was a drone service provider and there was another drone service provider just starting out, they'd probably want to replicate my systems in order to service their clients better. That's route number one. Route number two is you create a system as a service provider to help your client. And you reach this point where you're trading your time for money, and you get to the point where you go, I can't do this anymore. I know there's more for me out there, and I know I can make a bigger difference and get in front of more people and probably service, 10 times or 100 times the amount of clients. And so I was that second person where I was going, I was that first person where I was going, I've created a system for providing services really, really well. And I know that other people want to replicate my success with that. Yeah. So that's all I created content for, was I knew that one person. I got on YouTube and I broke down study guides, and I kind of, like you said, it's a search engine. So I provided educational, not entertaining, just educational content for other service providers who want to replicate a similar story for themselves.
Yeah, that's such an important point. And if anyone is listening to this, like, I can't stress that enough. A lot of people just want to build an online business, build a course business, and just like sit back and automate the hell out of it.
Yes.
It doesn't really work that way. And you're quite right. In my business, there's quite a lot of similarities. I started serving first, so I was a service provider first.
Yeah.
I still don't have a flagship course. Like, I'm making my way there because I'm still understanding by serving people what their challenges are.
Yeah.
For example, someone was putting together a program, and I was like, so like let's build out the first lesson. Let's use maybe Google Slides, because I like Google Slides.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, I'm not really familiar with Google Slides. And I'm like, okay, what are you familiar with? PowerPoint, Keynote? And they're like, no, I've never built out any slides before. I'm like, that's where I have to start.
Yes.
So it's working close with these individuals, helping them. You understand where their challenges exactly are, and then that will help you build further products down the line. We're talking about a product suite here. But yeah, starting with just helping one person, that's I think where people overlook.
Yeah, and that's how you build a community too. It starts very, very small. I still remember my first sale. And and it wasn't automated by any means. It might have gone through, they watched a video, they reached out, they wanted to learn more, and it resulted in a sale. I still remember actually my first sale. I was in like Trader Joe's and I was on my phone just trying to get my first sale, and then it came through and I was like, wow, okay, now I just need to do that again and again and again, and maybe I'll have a business. So yeah, to your point, a lot of people think that it's just build it and they will come. If I just get this product up and running, then it's an untapped niche where I can make tons of money. And and if you're getting into it for that reason, you're probably not going to be successful as a course creator. It's the harsh reality of it. The other side of things is people that want to provide real value, right? People who have done something over and over, and they've reached this ceiling or this tipping point where they're like, I can't do this forever. I need to figure out a way to create a digital version of this. And that's when the best courses come to life, right? I think it comes down to three things. Either you create a course because you have a skill set, you have a result that others want to achieve, or you have a specific transformation that you've achieved for yourself that others want to replicate. And so if you have one of those things, the process is actually very straightforward in starting to attack and get in touch with more people. So really early on with YouTube, it was just talk to one person and really connect with them. And then if they like it, keep the momentum going in that direction, and maybe they'll tell a friend, and and it'll lead to something else. And so I created a study guide video to answer your question. It was just a study guide video, and I put some time in outlining it. I just helped someone who was interested in learning about the process of going and passing the drone license exam to start a career in the drone industry. And so I put that out on YouTube, and I just promoted that one single video to everyone that I interacted with, came across, talked to. I would say, hey, I have this study guide to help you learn, the step-by-step guide to going and passing the drone license exam. And then it gets to the point where you kind of reach critical mass in others saying, oh, that one person that he was talking to, that's me. And if I share that with someone else like me, it might be valuable to them. And so, really just understanding who you're talking to and providing educational content, then, that momentum starts to carry.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool. Yeah, I heard it. I've heard it time and time again, like build an audience and then sell them what they want. Like those are the sort of two main areas of an online business. It's the audience bit that I think a lot of people overlook.
Yeah.
They get stuck into building what they think people want, but it's not until they actually liaise or help what people actually want is when they can put the two together. And I look at this personally in my business as YouTube, helping with the audience building bit, and then Kajabi is the delivering of the services and the products.
Yeah.
What sort of other platforms have you used before? Do you do any paid ads to increase your audience size, or is it just simply YouTube to Kajabi?
That's it. Believe it or not, it's just
Amazing.
YouTube to Kajabi. I don't do anything else. If you went on my website, I think the last blog post I published on there was probably 2020 or 21. I just double down on what I know and what I'm good at. I know what I'm good at, and I know what I'm not good at. And, I know how to leverage just what I'm good at. And that happens to only be YouTube. And
Yeah.
so, it is that you said those mediums, right? Whether it's audio or whether it's written or whether it's video. I kind of like this balance of both written and video. So what I do is I script a lot of my videos beforehand. When I go in and deliver the information, I just find it's a little bit more structured, chronological, and it helps get to the point faster as opposed to me trying to break down a topic on my own without practicing or without kind of scripting it out. So I write it all down beforehand. I write down all my scripts, and then I'll hit the studio and just shoot that one video or a couple videos, and then kind of put them out on YouTube, catering to that one person. And those typically will get a little bit of traction, and that obviously leads in towards my course.
Yeah, that's great. We were talking a little bit before I hit record on this call about like the setup and the how you can like have these calls like with great software now and minimal like hardware kit. Like just quickly, briefly talk to me about what kit you have when you say you go and hit the studio and record some videos. What do you use?
Yeah, so mine is very, very simple. I just have a laptop and I have a monitor. It just is easier, especially with Kajabi. I'm constantly doing things on one screen and writing on another screen. So I have a monitor and I have my laptop. And then I was telling you with Amex, they give you a $200 statement credit twice a year to Dell.com, which is kind of a little hack. And so I went in there and got this cool camera. I'll send you the link to it right after this call. But it's basically just a 4K camera that plugs into my laptop. I place it right on top of my computer. And then what I do is if I'm doing something like a screen share, I'll just use Loom or Canva Studio along with this, camera. And if I need to, most of the times I don't, but I'll use an external microphone. But it's really simple, just laptop and a camera. And there's so many cool softwares out there that I'm sure you're familiar with that, just make creating content a lot easier. The one that I'm like blown away with is Canva. I don't know if you've seen it recently. They have the whole recording. You can upload a teleprompter in there. You can edit videos. You can upload your slides. I think you could build a whole course just using Canva. It'd be a great course.
Yeah, that's amazing. I ask this question to everyone. What, if any, do you use AI for? Obviously, AI has been around for a while, but more so over the last sort of year or 18 months. Like, what do you use that for? Do you use it at all? Do you use it to help with transcribing, recording? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so AI was actually the start of this transition from Altitude University to Millennial Marketer, which is my main business now. I own this business with my partner, my business partner, Joanna. You've met her. We had a great time in Austin for the Kajabi Hero Live event.
Absolutely.
And we started the business together, and it was kind of this shift of I was doing, for Altitude, I was I only had to look out for myself, right? I was just a solopreneur and I was like, okay, I've got to kind of figure out a way to run the business on my own. When Joanna and I linked up and had the idea for Millennial Marketer, it was like, how can we leverage systems? How can we build a great business that can service clients? And what other assets can we build out in order to make this business more valuable? And so early on, we had the opportunity to build a course for Discord, and we worked together with them. Part of that process was we used AI to actually script the entire program. And so, so what we did was, it was the fastest. Early on, I think when I filmed my first course, I filmed it in my garage when I was like 19 or 20 years old, and it took me months to write and film and all this stuff. Anyway, when we got approached by Discord, it was a very quick turnaround time, and we used AI to draft the entire course curriculum, and
Wow.
as well as all the visuals and the assets that went along with it. And so we filmed here in the studio and got that script approved, and we built the course in just a few weeks, which was
Wow.
one of the craziest things that we had done early in the business. And AI kind of helped with that process to get things done in a way quicker way. So now more than ever, if you're creating a course, leverage these things, but don't rely on them as, start with your knowledge, your expertise.
100%.
Or,
Yeah.
you're the skill set expert. You're the one who's done this before, and you can use AI to tweak and improve what you've already created. But I would never recommend using something like AI to help, come up with the ideas for or draft the initial version of, because that's really where your expertise
Yeah.
can start.
100%. I always say, like, test it, use it. It might get you halfway there, but don't completely rely on it, because it might not make any sense at all.
Exactly. What do you use AI for?
So I use it for either transcribing video or helping with blog posts. So I don't have a podcast. I have YouTube and blog posts. So yeah, I use it to try and rank blog posts. But again, I don't use use it verbatim or use it as the final draft. But yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I'm still playing around with it myself, seeing what it can save me time with, because that's the big kicker at the end of the day. It's saving time.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about Millennial Marketer. So you've got a couple of brands now. Is it 2 brands? How many more brands do you have?
Yeah, just Altitude University
Yep.
was the first course that I still own that business, but actually towards the end of and a topic I can touch on too that we were talking about, but it is systems for saving time and realizing where you're putting your time.
Sure.
Towards the end of Altitude, I was actually extremely frustrated with myself, with Kajabi, with the business overall, and I was trying to figure out what I had done wrong. And believe it or not, it was this tipping point of me kind of realizing that I was running the business by myself. And, you get to this point where you don't realize what's going wrong. I mean, financially, it was great. Student-wise and value-wise, it was great. The course was everything was built, but I was like, I felt like I was doing the same repetitive tasks every single day, and I didn't feel like I was acting on new ideas. I didn't feel like I had anyone to run, that information by. And so actually I got approached by, we got in touch just through a mutual connection. His name is David, and he basically had this article written about him on how he used drones to cope with his PTSD from war. And so what he would do is he would go and he would fly these drones, and he would completely escape, just watching in beautiful areas, Arizona, Southern California. He'd watch the screen, and it was almost therapeutic. And so I heard about his story and we connected, and I was like, you'd be the perfect person to take on this community role, and eventually, if he was open to it, take on running the business on a more day-to-day role. Because what I had realized is I was working in my business instead of on my business. And that's something that I'm sure if you've created a course, if you're watching this and you've created a course and you've had some initial success and a little bit of traction, and you've gotten to this point where you're like, this is everything I've wanted, but I still don't feel fulfilled, it's probably because on a day-to-day basis, you're working inside of your business. There's kind of like a halo around you or a dome
Yeah.
where you're like, I can't think about or act on new ideas. And so I took a step back and tried to really figure out what was going on. And around that time, I had met David, and I realized a good friend of mine was like, "You're too in it." And I was like, "You're totally right." And so I took a step back and brought David in. And to this day, right now, he runs Altitude University completely. He's the COO and runs all the operations and the community and the day-to-day stuff. And around that time, Joanna and I were playing with the idea of helping others replicate a similar process to what we had created for Altitude University. And she played a part in that early on. We worked together on the drone school and was like, we should transfer this knowledge towards something else. And so we started Millennial Marketer, which was basically we're an agency and we help people with Kajabi related services. Specifically, we help them build and launch and scale their course on Kajabi. So her and I have been working on that for the last year full time.
Amazing. That's very cool. I find that it's almost like a key to another door. You sort of fall into these things, and it sounds like you've sort of found there's a challenge. Okay, how do I overcome it? And then you build businesses out of it, basically.
Exactly,
that's very cool.
Exactly, and I think that's the best way to solve a problem, and then to create a business. When you've solved that problem, you bridge the gap. And, most of the time people are willing to pay in order to get to the other side quicker. So that's what we did with Millennial Marketer.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very conscious of your time. So just think about finishing up here. What are some of the things, like piece of advice you'd give to anyone watching this who's either just started or thinking about starting an online business? I'm very much into the helping people with the tech because I see a lot of tech overwhelm. So that's why I looked at systems and either automate or delegate or delete. Focusing on one thing, which is a theme that we've been talking about.
For that. Okay, so break down the acronym.
So I've heard it a number of ways, but basically you either assess the task, right? Does it need to be done at all? So there's a deletion option there, right? You could delete it.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a thumbs up there. Or you can either have a look at delegating. Mm-hmm. So, if you can't do it or if you can't automate it, you can delegate it for someone if it's a manual task.
Yeah.
Or you can automate it, right? So I think it's in the order delete, then automate. And if you can't do any of those, then you get someone else to do it. And that's what frees you up. So those types of things. What would you, bit of words of advice or any stories that you have that systems has helped you, or if you had to do the reset button, like what experience would you be riding on the most?
Yeah, I think that systems are a huge part of any business, and I learned that from a friend, and his business is wildly successful. And the thing that he shared with me is really just create repeatable systems to be able to deliver high quality services over and over without your time being heavily invested in delivering that high quality product. And with these systems, you have the ability to grow more than just yourself as well. A lot of the times you inside of your business as a solopreneur can't see how you could essentially get to the next level or scale on your own. And that's something I struggled with really, really early on, was not understanding how there are levels to this game. And I was at the bottom and I was by myself and I was struggling on a day-to-day basis. And, I realized it was because I was kind of putting myself in a corner without even realizing it. And really, if you create repeatable systems, you could bring in other talent and you can grow a team and a community and service more people. And so systems are definitely a really good way to go about going from yourself to potentially outsourcing or adding a virtual team member to start. With virtual team members, I would never recommend, and this goes back to systems, I would never recommend hiring someone, whether it's a virtual team member or whether it's a part-time or a full-time employee or a contractor, I would never recommend that you have someone come into your business and create a role for them that's never been done before. For instance, a lot of people think, and one thing I thought really early on was like, hey, I need to get to the next level. What does that mean? I had this idea for building a sales team. And I was like, I'm just going to bring someone in to do sales, to contact school districts. And we work closely with a lot of first responders, firefighters, police departments. And I was like, oh, we should just do sales. That's the next level. And so I brought someone in, to focus on sales, and it completely, combusted because I had never done that before. There was no system that I could teach that person. It was starting from scratch. And so as a solopreneur right now, if you're like, you're getting some traction and you have some course sales and you're like, I could really, really take this to the next level and build a business, I think the best thing to do is jot down what you're doing in your daily life running the business, kind of segment it into categories and figure out what hat are you wearing when you focus on operations, what hat are you wearing when you focus on community, what hat are you wearing when you focus on this specific thing, and then create a system for how you do that stuff. And you'll be able to look at it and go, wow, I do a lot more than I realize.
Yeah.
And there's an opportunity to have someone come in and improve that process who maybe, focuses on that task a little bit more or knows that better even than you do. So yeah, I love what you're doing with systems, and I love the emphasis that you have on it, because really it's for those that are struggling inside their business to get to the next level. You've got to be open, you got to put the guard down, and you've got to bring people in that can help you grow to something that you didn't know you were even capable of. And that's usually the case. You can't even conceptualize sometimes your potential because you're limiting yourself. And so I think that these systems are great because you go, boom, I need someone to focus on operations, creating scalable systems for this specific thing, or writing scripts for YouTube or whatever that may be, and really dialing it in, and then sharing that with another person, and you'll be able to reach 10 times the amount of people.
That's very cool. I couldn't have put it better myself. I agree on pretty much everything you've said there. A lot of people do get overwhelmed when they start because they think, oh, I should be doing all of these things. Should you really? I think focus is a key thread that we've touched on today. And I think really focusing down on like one platform, one message, one call to action, one program, one way of helping people. I think that would really sort of streamline and help people get out of that overwhelm, because just because you can do something doesn't mean to say you should. I think it's really sort of boiling it down to what moves the needle the most. And I think the other thing is too that people don't realize is right now there's a war on your time and your focus, right? And people don't understand that on a day-to-day basis they're getting distracted and attacked by large corporations who have billions and billions of dollars to create algorithms for things that are meant to distract you and keep you on the platform. And so I think that if you can understand that, your time and your focus is so valuable. So when you put that time aside to double down or go all in on your business, you should really identify a few things that you should put your time and energy towards. If you have a laundry list of things that you think are going to get your business to the next level, and if it exceeds 5, things, if your list is longer than a couple things, there's probably a high chance that some of those are not revenue generating tasks. And if you can kind of highlight or put a check mark next to which ones are revenue generating tasks, you should only be focused on those. And that's why early on you were like, what's the best way to drive traffic and generate leads? Well, for some people, it's one social media platform. For some, it's another. But just focus on that one early on. And then when you have the traffic strategy, the Kajabi side of things, your business, focus on one thing, double down on it, so that when your time and your energy and your focus is going towards your business, you know that it's going towards revenue generating tasks and not repetitive daily tasks that could be outsourced to anyone else. Absolutely. That's amazing. Thanks for the call and your time today. Touching on time is the only finite commodity. I'm conscious of your time. Thank you very much for giving us some time to hear your words of wisdom. And I look forward to meeting up again in 3D. I hear there's another Kajabi live event happening possibly this year sometime, maybe towards the back end of this year.
Well, we'll see. And that was a lot of fun today. I really appreciate you having me on. And I
no problem at all.
I love the channel. I'm subscribed.
Amazing.
I'll do the plug for you. If you haven't subscribed yet, go subscribe to Tim's channel below. Clicking the link below. There you go. That was your plug.
And I will be linking up all your details. So if anyone wants to reach out to you, where's the best place?
You can just send me a message directly, or we have millennialmarketer.com. I'd love to get in touch. It would be a lot of fun.
I'll link that up to the notes to this call.
Awesome.
But yeah, thank you so much again. I look forward to catching up in 3D. Speak
Sounds
soon.
great. Thanks, Tim.
Thanks, Brandon. Bye. So that's it. That was the call I had with Brandon earlier today. Hopefully you found some value in that. You got some nuggets of gold and you've learned from his experience. But if you're still a little bit unsure of where to start, I've actually put together a full workshop for you as an on-demand training. You can get access timpeakman.com/workshop, and I talk about the 3 things you need in any online business to actually make your first $1,000 online. So that link once more, head to timpeakman.com/workshop, get instant access today and apply what you've learned. And if you still have any specific questions for myself or Brandon, you can ask them directly under this video, and I look forward to seeing you again on another video soon.